What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Schreckbein, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers closed out the preseason last night with a 19-10 win over the Carolina Panthers. It was not smooth. There were some alarming moments, none bigger than Derek Harmon's injury. We're diving into that, what it means, who takes the blame for it. Meanwhile, a couple of guys who may have forced their hand on to the 53-man roster that I am excited to dive into. Shout out to everybody jumping onto the live stream this morning. I want to give a quick update on those who were not available for the call-in show or have not caught the news beforehand. We have changed our schedule slightly for the time being due to the Pittsburgh Steelers practice schedule being significantly later post-training camp than it was a year ago. For right now, what we're going to do and the plan at hand is us to go live after games, the morning after games, and then we will go live once more during the week, most likely Thursday afternoons, and what we're going to start calling a little AST happy hour to make sure that we answer all your guys' questions. The call-in show is not going anywhere. The podcasts aren't going anywhere. We'll still have those. They'll just be pre-recorded and launched live in the morning. But I'm excited to be here. It's been a while. I'm excited to see the picnic pack. Jacob, how you feel, my friend?
Excited to be chatting with the picnic pack as well, if I could just echo that for a moment. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I mean, I'm more than anything, I am so happy because this preseason is finally completed. And I am just thrilled that all of our speculation, all of our chatter, all of our focus can be on these 53-man rosters. What are the final preparations for the regular season? And we can start talking about this next matchup that is week 1 against the New York Jets. We are trending in a great direction despite the alarming sort of developments that might have happened last night. But all things considered, man, we are entering into the next chapter, the best chapter, and that is the beginning of the NFL's regular season. So I am happy for everyone tuning in. I am rocking the Nirvana tank top today. I think that's an appropriate one for where we're feeling right now.
I will say that your return to the live stream this morning for what was a week, we took a whole week off, which is wild. Felt like 10 years, to be honest with you guys. A whole week off, and you return sweatshirtless, but not just sweatshirtless, in a cutoff. You went from layers to no sleeves, and I love it. I love the statement that you make. I love the sacrifice that your chilled arms will deal with throughout this podcast. We're grateful for it all. I agree with you. We are here. The season is upon us. The Steelers have 2 weeks, but really they have 1 week. They have until next Friday to make the final roster cuts. Big decisions are going to be made. I'm excited to talk Will Howard, Skyler Thompson, because I think that's a conversation that needs to be had. I'm excited to talk Beanie Bishop and Scotty Miller. I'm excited to talk Derek Harmon, which is where we will start. The Pittsburgh Steelers obviously won the game last night, 19-10. Ben Saul's shout out definitely earned himself a roster spot somewhere in the NFL, but probably not with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But all attention the entire game was on one name, and that was Derek Harmon, and what was happening and what his facial expressions were and where he was and so on and so forth. After the second defensive series of the game, Derek Harmon gets taken off the sideline, not the field, which I think is significant, on a cart. He met with trainers. I was talking to people who were at the game. Obviously, we were not. And to be honest with you, most of the media, the Pittsburgh media, was not there. Most people don't travel to the preseason. So it was very difficult to gather as much information as possible as quickly as we needed to gather it. But from my understanding, Derek Harmon looked in obvious pain walking off the field, met with trainers, and then shortly after leaving the tent, was able to walk himself to the cart, but looked visibly upset while walking himself to the cart and getting on the cart, was then carted off. Later comes back, is on the sideline joking with TJ, which is a huge sign of relief to every Steelers fan out there. And afterwards, Mike Tomlin says it's a knee sprain, according to Jerry Dulac and to my own sources here. He is expected to miss a couple of weeks. They do not anticipate that it's anything worse. They feel pretty good that the knee is intact and everything's good to go. He'll undergo an MRI later this morning. Again, they expect everything to come back looking pretty good. You look at it and go, man, a game where whoever Miller or Plummer was, Jack Plummer, who all I could think in the whole time was Jake Plummer, the former
Same.
Denver Broncos quarterback. And I was like, did he have a kid? Are we this old now? Was starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. The Pittsburgh Steelers still chose to put their guys out there, still chose to take the risk. It comes back to bite them in the butt pretty immediately with almost no return on investment because, yeah, Jalen Ramsey looked good for one play. You had Joey Porter Jr. miss a tackle. The running game didn't look good at all. There were penalties out the wazoo. It just looked like a game where the Pittsburgh Steelers starters knew from the jump, there's really no reason for us to be here. Why are we here? And then Derek Harmon goes down with an injury. How concerned are you about the approach? To be honest with you, not even concerned. Like, what was your thoughts? You wrote a story this morning about how Mike Tomlin's stubbornness is the reason that this happened, and he should take the blame for it. I kind of want to give you the floor on that one. Tell the people why you feel that way, because I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I did, as Noah mentioned, I did put out a story this morning on this, and this term like stubbornness is something that I go back to so often when I talk about Mike Tomlin, because it's one of the things I admire most about him, but I also think can be to the detriment of himself and the Pittsburgh Steelers at times. And I think last night was the perfect example. There was no reason, no argument, there was no explanation that could be given that would make sense, that would give rationale to Derek Harmon or any starter or anyone that you consider valuable for week one to be playing a single snap in that final preseason game. There was no offensive guard matchup that you really wanted Derek Harmon to learn from. You know, I could see if you're talking about going against like Joe Thuney or like one of, the dude from Philadelphia, Cam Jurgens, like if there's like some like great matchup you would love for him to get some reps from. Like I understand that. I would disagree with it, but I would be like, all right, at least there's like a Mike Tomlin's competitive nature is winning out here. Like I can give some credence to that. He's going against second string Carolina Panthers offensive lineman, tweaks a knee. Hopefully it's mild, but there was just no reason for this scenario to even be a possibility. And this is where I do think the blame lies solely on Mike Tomlin, because he has the ability and the authority to make sure this does not happen. And while I understand the fiery competitiveness is a plus, is what a championship team needs, when you needlessly make these scenarios and situations that can come to the detriment of your team, it will happen at some point. It's Murphy's Law. So it was a perfect storm. I also acknowledge and understand that like an injury can happen anytime, right? Any place, anywhere. This could have been the first preseason game, a scrimmage, a practice, the Super Bowl. Injuries happen. That is what the sport is as well. But if you can reduce the opportunities for it, why would you not do it? And as a head coach whose job it is to maximize this team, prioritize the players, it seems like that did not happen. And then look what the result was. So yeah, it fired me up a ton. And it really pissed me off, like just as like a fan of the sport. So yeah, I don't see the use for preseason much, except for evaluating the bottom of the roster players. And then this happened. So yeah, frustrated the hell out of me, buddy. I don't know if you felt differently.
No, I knew the frustration was there. Your text messages to me during the game gave all the frustration away. It was pretty clear as day. Jacob was not happy about the situation. No, I agree with you. And we had this conversation. We talked about this throughout the week. We are not people who at any point was ranting on Twitter or going off at anywhere, anytime to say, I can't believe Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are playing in the preseason, but Aaron Rodgers isn't. What are we doing? Why are the Pittsburgh Steelers not taking the same approach as the terrible Cincinnati Bengals or the non-Super Bowl champions of the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs? It just doesn't make any sense. No, my thought was the same the entire time. Why are you putting these guys out here? Your starting offense and defense is set. You don't have questions anywhere. You don't have position battles. I get it. Maybe you could continue to develop. But to be totally honest with you, if the decision is take a risk that week one you start slow against the absolutely terrible New York Jets, or have one of your guys get injured, doesn't matter who they are, you go start slow against the Jets. If you start 1-0 or 0-1, excuse me, but everybody's healthy, you still have a shot. You want to know what happens if Derek Harmon's injury is more significant than a knee sprain? If that's a torn ACL, if his season's over, if it's not Derek Harmon, but it's Jalen Ramsey, or it's, I mean, we could get, it's Zach Frazier, it's Troy Fautanu again. It's any of these big giant names go down. What are you looking at? You're looking at Isaiah Loudermilk starting for a season. You're looking at Brandon Echols starting for a season. You're looking at Beanie Bishop starting for a season. You're looking at Dylan Cook starting for a season opposite of Broderick Jones. Like, the risk reward is just never there. I agree with you. I think it was, there was an argument if Bryce Young and company were out there to say everybody gets a series. You know what I mean? Show me what you could do in a series, get your feet wet, kind of get the rust off. You get 5 plays. That's what you're getting. And the second that they were pulled, the second that it was over, the argument's out the table. Nobody should be on the field. I do not care that Jalen Ramsey had one great play against a running back who isn't going to make the team. You know what I mean? That means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing to me. And that's where we are. And that's how the Pittsburgh Steelers honestly should have approached it. They didn't. And it immediately came back to bite them in the butt. Luckily, Derek Harmon's fine, or fine, I guess. I don't expect him to start the season in week 1. I expect him to be there maybe 2, 3, 4, somewhere in that ballpark. We'll see. Isaiah Loudermilk is slated to start in his place. Wyatt Black will probably get a heavy rotation as well, because that dude looks like an absolute monster, and I'm all about it. Let's talk some guys who impressed last night and not the bad news of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we got to start with Skyler Thompson, who went 11 for 13, 152 yards, I believe, a touchdown, a 53-yard pass, which shout out to Ari Meyer, who is part of our team over on Steelers on SI, who tossed in the chat immediately. Can't believe a 53-yard pass put Skyler Thompson on the 53-man roster. That was awesome.
Well put.
It's true, though. Skyler Thompson, in my eyes, is a lock. You're not getting rid of him. And I don't think there's no point, there's no justification, there's no nothing where the Steelers would ever consider letting Will Howard walk. That's not going to happen. They're not going to let another team get their 6th-round rookie quarterback. But I do fully expect him to start the season on IR. I don't think there's even a conversation anymore. I think that is already penciled in on the Pittsburgh Steelers 53-man initial roster, where Will Howard will start the season on IR. He will be able to return in 4 weeks if they deem him eligible, if they see that it's fit. But to be really honest with you, it would not surprise me at all. And my guess is that Will Howard spends the entire season on injured reserve, shuts down his rookie year. He's still in the building, obviously, able to learn from Aaron Mason, Skyler Thompson, and so on and so forth. But Skyler Thompson looked so good. And I get it. 3rd and 4th stringers, like, I understand that, but you can't get rid of you can't get rid of a guy who impressed to say, here's a rookie that we have the option to keep around as well and not take a risk on. And that's what the Steelers are going to do. So if I had to, I don't even have to guess, to be really honest. I've had conversations with people for the last couple of days, not just the last couple of hours. And that seems to be the mindset that the Pittsburgh Steelers had going into the preseason finale. I think last night confirmed it. Will Howard's going to end up on IR. Skyler Thompson, man, did everything he could to say, this is my spot. I'm QB3 of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And I agree with that assessment and the prediction or insight, whatever word accurately describes that. Like, I think Skyler Thompson has played himself onto the 53-man roster. Now, will I be like upset or something like that if Skyler Thompson does not make the team in favor of Will Howard? Like, no, like, it's not going to be like a season altering decision, in my opinion. But in terms of having better quarterback depth, Skyler Thompson is clearly the better option to be the 3rd quarterback right now. And then you can have Will Howard around. We don't want to say I told you so, but we did say exactly this sort of thing right after Will Howard got injured. And we were like, this could be exactly how something that works into the Steelers' benefit. So I think, preseason heroes are not often regular season heroes, but like, the performance that he has put on paper and what he has done over the last, 6 to 8 weeks, both in preseason games and in practice, has been impressive. And the coaching staff continues to point it out and to acknowledge it. And so I think that just leads to being rewarded with a 53-man spot. So I agree with you. I expect him to be on there. I'd be shocked if he's not. And then I'll just kind of confirm what I've been saying since March as well.
Yeah, and I think it's simple. Like, if Aaron goes down, the Steelers need options because Mason Rudolph did not look good this preseason. He looked good in the first game and didn't look good after that. Even the 42-yard bomb to Roman Wilson that probably solidified him as a top wide receiver option in this group was an underthrown football. You know what I mean? I think the Steelers would love to have Skyler be a guy that if something ever happened to Aaron and Mason does not perform well, you'd rather have Skyler Thompson out there than Will Howard. And I think that's at the end of the day, like, that's how most teams would feel anyways, because Skyler Thompson is an NFL veteran. He's got experience. A 6th-round rookie is not going to do much for you unless he really proves it. What I will say on Will Howard's part, though, is that Will Howard had this thing locked down, and he looked much better than Skyler Thompson did during training camp before the injury, which is a great sign for what Will Howard can do in the future. Again, it doesn't change the Steelers' plans in the draft or anything like that, but it is a good sign, a good indication that Will Howard's got a bright future, man. Like, Will Howard, he's definitely NFL capable, and I think that's good. Again, the Steelers are still going to draft a quarterback in 2026 in the first round. That's what's going to happen. But I like what I saw from Will, and the fact that Skyler looked this good it's a compliment to Will. It is a compliment to Will Howard. Scotty Miller is the other one. He's a lock. That dude's a stud. What's your expectations for Scotty this season? Do you think he's a preseason hero that does nothing in the regular season? And honestly, I think the bigger question is, the Gabe Davis thing is still floating around out there. There was news that came out that they didn't like his MRI, and we still don't know what's going to happen there. Jaylen Polk dream lasted about an hour and a half. That's all we got off of that one before he was shut down for the season with a shoulder injury. Where do you sit on the Steelers wide receiver room? Scotty's most likely on the roster. I would say Robert Woods is the man that's out of the roster. And do they still go out and add somebody, or are they pretty content with where they're at?
Scotty Miller has certainly played himself onto the 53-man roster. I agree with that. It is still very difficult for me to see him being an impact player once the regular season begins. Like, I have loved watching him in the preseason, have been very jazzed up by watching this man light it up. It's been great. I think it kind of ends there as far as the productivity train for Scotty Miller. And then because of that, and because there's been really nothing else besides 3 catches, I think, in total from Roman Wilson that have stood out during the preseason, and Calvin Austin running some laps recently. It all tells me they still absolutely need some more help in the pass catching game. And I really don't know where they're going to get it. The last trade that even seemed maybe like a comparable in my mind, when the Denver Broncos sent Devon Vale, I forget how to say his last name, to the New Orleans Saints for, I think it was a 4th and a 7th round pick.
Dude, to be honest with you,
monster return.
But the Sky Moore trade, why were the Steelers not involved in the Sky Moore trade? Why did they not?
Because they wanted Jaylen Polk, right? Before he got injured.
They wanted. You want to know the craziest part of the Jaylen Polk situation is I texted somebody in New England that day after we recorded the podcast, and I said, "Yo, tell me a little bit about Jaylen Polk," and he said he's probably going to start for the Patriots this year. So what the hell? Where did we get this information? What the hell's going on here? How did Filippone just all of a sudden say he's getting cut and the Steelers are going to grab him? He's going to start in New England. Where are we at here? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
No. I think it's all on the same plane. It's all connected in the sense that there's they need to add a wide receiver. The trade market is, to me right now, untouchable. It's volatile. Like the fact that this guy, Vale, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the last name either way, if it's a third option, him going for 2 draft picks is absurd to me. Craziness. And that is the type of player in my mind that the Steelers would be adding. Of course, we're talking about Scary Terry still, and we're dreaming about Scary Terry being an option, but that feels less and less likely. Jaden Daniels just went like to the press and was like, I think they're going to work something out and I'm going to be throwing passes to Scary Terry recently. I think I read that in The Athletic the other day, maybe yesterday.
Yes.
And that tells me, you know, that's more pressure. I'm backing off the Scary Terry thing more. Either way, they need wide receiver help. The trade market doesn't seem like the way to go. Someone's got to get cut then, you know, there has to be someone who doesn't fit into the room somewhere else and becomes available. I think that's their only option at this point, to add a ready body for week 1. Otherwise, they're going to run with this group of, you know, expecting Scotty Miller to produce, and it won't happen.
Can I tell you that in my 53-man roster prediction, my wide receivers that make the team are DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek, and other, because I think they keep 6.
That's good.
I still believe they keep 6. They have the room for it. They can still keep 6 or 7 defensive tackles, I believe, which is fine. They only keep 1 swing tackle, but Spencer Anderson can play everything under the sun, and Calvin Anderson could easily end up on the practice squad. I look at it and say, you got to go get somebody. They're going to go get somebody. Who that somebody's going to be, I don't know. You know, Odell Beckham's still out there. Amari Cooper's still out there. Like, I could see some crazy trade somewhere, but like, I just don't expect it at this point. I will say this. I'm fairly confident they're going to add to the room. The level of which they're going to add, I do not know, because I don't know everybody who's available. You know, I don't know what teams are sitting around on what podcasts saying this guy's going to go. He's going to be traded before week 1. If it's not a signing, could I give you the package prediction that I see coming for the Steelers?
Yes.
I think the Steelers trade DeMarvin Leal and a draft pick for, and potentially Corliss Waitman, to be really honest with you, because teams need punters, man. And punter trades are a real thing in the NFL. DeMarvin Leal and a draft pick is my guess, though, for some wide receiver that is probably wide receiver 5 on the roster that they hope is going to be wide receiver 3, but he's not going to surpass Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, or Scotty Miller. And then he's just going to be another Ben Skoranek that they feel fine about. But that's my guess is how it goes down. I think DeMarvin Leal is included in a package, and that's how they go to get somebody else.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
No, I think that does feel more likely than, like, you know, some massive blockbuster-esque move that happens in the waning hours before the rosters need to be submitted. But, like, oh God, that
Trey
is the
Palmer,
most,
dude. Go get. They're gonna go end up with Trey Palmer. You know?
I'm not totally averse to that solution. That is something. It's a C- grade in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's a, when you maybe Terry McLaurin. Oh God, yeah.
No. Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard. You want to know the name that popped in my head? Yep, I know exactly what you're gonna say. In Tampa Bay, dude, he caught that touchdown in the joint practice, and I went, Mike Tomlin's standing right there, right there, and I was just like, that guy, he's bottom of the barrel in Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? Even with the Jalen McMillan thing, I could see it. I mean, unless I'm wrong, I could see it.
No, dude, I get it. He was talking mad trash too, as if he was like fresh off like that 1,000-yard season he had. Shout out Darryl Porter for ruining my trade hopes for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was a real tough one for me.
For sure.
But
for sure. They almost took out Hunter Renfrow last night too, who's another name that I would keep on the radar for.
I was gonna say the Panthers might be. Yeah. Yep.
If he gets cut, that is a name to watch for sure. I think they do add a wide receiver, though. I do. Let's finish it out by pissing everybody off one last time. I don't think Beanie Bishop makes the roster, and I think last night not playing for whatever reason solidified that I don't think Beanie Bishop makes the roster. Now, this being said, if it's a serious injury, I think he ends up on IR for the year. You could shut him down before the season starts and not have to worry about him and keep him. But if it is not a serious injury and he's looking to play somewhere else, I think Beanie Bishop has found himself on the outside looking in, and I think that the Steelers cornerback room after the James Pierre interception that landed right in his arms. But that's what James Pierre specializes in, is those moments where you just go, every time James Pierre looks like he's out, you bring him back in. It's Joey Porter, it's Jalen Ramsey, it's Darius Slay, Brandon Echols, who's going to play the slot. And then it's Corey Trice and it's James Pierre. Corey Trice started to ramp up the other day at practice. I mean, TA made it very obvious he's an NFL corner. And then when talking about Beanie, it was like, he's got to be real good on special teams. Well, he didn't get an opportunity to prove that in the final preseason game. I think Beanie's on the outside looking in.
Yep. Hard to imagine a spot for him on the 53-man roster right now, unless, something like, unless an injury pops up in the secondary between now and, roster cutdown day and week 1 against the New York Jets. I was not aware that he was dealing with any sort of injury that only hurts his case, for sure.
I don't know if he is. I have no idea if he is. He just didn't play last night.
Yeah, and the only other non-starter, if I didn't misread like the game sheet, was offensive lineman who was
Mason McCormick.
Well, no. I'm sorry. The only other player who didn't start that isn't like a starter, was like Aiden Williams, a lineman.
Yeah, come on.
And so it's like, he's not making the team. No. And so at first I thought maybe this was like a crazy swerve by Tomlin, right, where it was like, oh, he's a lock for the team, and they're just resting him. But then I was looking over the game sheet, and there was at number 71, A. Williams. I assume his first name's Aiden.
It's Aiden. It's Aiden Williams.
Yeah, did my job right. And he didn't play either. So I think he's probably looking for a new job, or something like that pretty soon. I think that is also kind of spelling the writing on the wall for Beanie Bishop as well. And it's a shame. I know there's a lot of people who really, really like him. I really like him too. Like, I just easy to root for. I love an undrafted guy who comes in and just earns a role, asserts himself. He's fun to watch in practice as well. And he seems like a player that everyone else seems to really enjoy being around as well. So, everything going for him. There's just not a spot right now, especially with Corey Trice continuing to trend upwards. Injuries aside, he continues to trend upwards within this organization and on the field whenever he's healthy. So it just all kind of spells the end for Beanie Bishop, unfortunately, barring an injury messing those things up.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that last night if Brandon Echols was 30 years old, there was a conversation to be had that you keep Beanie, but Brandon Echols is 24, 25, 26, something in that ballpark. Corey Trice is 24. Like, these guys are too young to say that you stick around for a guy who's already 25, who's a second-year player who, may be on the outside looking in, and you got to still develop him. That being said, Beanie's going to end up somewhere. It's just not going to be Pittsburgh. All right.
Yeah.
That's everything on our agenda. On the other side of this break, we'll start answering all your questions. Make sure you toss them in the chat. We'll be right back.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
Alrighty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. If you guys have questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can. We're going to start with good old Daryl Patterson Salad, Alec Pierce, Darnell Mooney, Chris Olave, Romeo Dobbs. Realistically, who do you see us getting? Even like a Trey Tucker from Las Vegas or a Demario Douglas in New England. So Demario Douglas is a name I actually have checked on. He's pretty locked into the Patriots roster. They really like what they have in that guy. Good old Pop Douglas. Trey Tucker, I would imagine, is the same thing in Las Vegas. I have not checked on him. Chris Olave is banged up, from my understanding. Romeo Dobbs is hurt, from my understanding. Darnell Mooney's wide receiver 2 in Atlanta, maybe wide receiver 3 in Atlanta, which makes things very difficult. Alec Pierce is a name for sure. They have a lot of guys in Indianapolis. Would you look? I mean, I think he's the most realistic out of this list. I'm not saying that he's on the Steelers' radar, but he's a realistic option. Would you consider an Alec Pierce?
Yeah, absolutely. I would. I think of those names listed there, I think that's probably someone who could help the most, and also does fill a need on being able to play on the outside. If I'm not mistaken, he's got a fair amount of his reps on the outside in Indianapolis, but I could be mistaken. I would love to do that. I think if you're, if you can make that DeMarvin Leal, Corliss Waitman, Ben Sauls sort of package work, hypothetically, I would be just all for that.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Does Indianapolis fancy themselves an underdog contender with Danny
Danny
Dimes?
Dimes. I don't know.
Because they might think he's like Sam Darnold 2.0 or like 2025 version of Sam Darnold, and if that's the case, they might want to keep those weapons for right now. But if they're being pragmatic and realistic, they would be, entertaining offers for players like Alec Pierce. Is Kendrick Bourne still playing for New England?
He is
I
still
feel like
playing
that's
for
a
New
person
England.
who meets the standard that Noah was describing earlier.
My problem with that is he's like 31 years old and he's worth like $15 million a year. That's expensive for a guy who isn't that great, Like Kendrick Bourne's fine, but he's not anything crazy. I agree with the Alec Pierce thing. Like it's the Steelers. You know what I mean? You're not trading Nick Herbig or Alex Highsmith, and you're not even considering it because you want that defense to be great from top to bottom. And I think that if Indianapolis looks at it the same way and says, we can't risk that, then Alec Pierce doesn't go somewhere. Now, you might be able to toss them a pretty impressive answer, and that changes some things. But I do think that where we sit right now, you got to look at it and say, what teams don't have faith in themselves or have way too much going for them to move on. That's the DeMarvin Leal thing. You know what I mean? That's the Beanie Bishop thing. Is there are way too many guys to keep them around. And even, DeMarvin Leal's not making the roster, but like Beanie's a good example. Like there's way too many guys. So if you were to trade him, it's just because we need to get rid of him because he's not going to make the team either way. Alec Pierce is going to make the team. It's just a matter of how much faith do the Indianapolis Colts have in themselves. What's his name over there? I don't even know. It's not Gannon. Is it Gannon? Is Gannon the head coach? Or no, he's in Arizona.
Steichen.
Yeah. Is on the last leg of his deal. He's got a performer. He's gone. I think that makes it more difficult. You know what I mean? You're not going to trade with a guy who has his job on the line and just get anything you want. So I think it is difficult. I think that's what we're running into right now with the Pittsburgh Steelers is that trade-wise, you are hitting a wall because there aren't many teams out there that have excess guys at wide receiver and need to move on from them. So you're either going to have to really impress them or, move on to the next one. And, Maddie brings up a point here. They have Downs, Pittman, and Mitchell as their core, but just like the Pittsburgh Steelers have TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig as their core, Jack Sawyer's not going anywhere. And if Jack Sawyer was the guy that was going to eventually be their core, Nick Herbig's not going anywhere because you're not trading guys who you think is valuable depth to have. You know what I mean? If this guy was 6 on the depth chart, there's a different conversation, but you're not trading for a guy who's 4, or unless you impress that trade. And I don't think the Steelers are willing to do that. Errol, one more time here. What about Kyle Pitts? Give Atlanta a 3rd and a 6th. Move Pitts to wide receiver. Thoughts? My only issue is that at some point you run out of tight end room and you run out of slot receivers. And Kyle Pitts can't be an outside guy. You know what I mean?
We're good.
Sorry, Kyle Pitts can't be. Kyle Pitts isn't an outside receiver. He's a big body for sure, but you're not sending him streaking down the sideline. And I think because of that, it's just like you have Roman, you have Calvin, you have Scotty, you have too many guys that can play on the inside. You need somebody on the outside. And I think that's where, you have Jonnu, you have Pat, you have Connor Hayward, like too many guys. You need somebody on the outside. And I just don't think Kyle Pitts fits that mold.
Oh, and now we're just in this, if that's the solution, I feel like we are so lost in terms of finding a solution for the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver room. Like, if Kyle Pitts being an addition and switching to wide receiver makes any sort of sense, like you've gone too far. You got to turn back and figure out like something else and get back to your roots here. Like, Kyle Pitts is a great player. There was a time pre Jonnu Smith where I was very excited about the possibility of the Steelers acquiring him, but at this point, it's just, another player who Aaron Rodgers has to spread the ball out to within the first 10 yards of the field. It's not really what the Steelers need to help maximize and improve the offense. So I love the suggestion, love the thought, but I don't think it would be the best thing for the Steelers right now.
I think if Jonnu Smith's not here, Kyle Pitts makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
But
at some point you run out of tight end / wide receivers. You know what I mean? You just, you got too many of them. YouTube user, do you think that Rodgers is the reason we have no running game? If we can't improve that, we're finished. I don't know how Aaron Rodgers would impact the running game negatively, to be honest with you. I think he would actually help it quite a bit because he opens up the deeper parts of the field with his ability to throw the football. If you have a good passing game, you have a good running game, it kind of usually works hand in hand. That was the Steelers' problem the last couple of years, is that you could just stack the box because the Steelers couldn't throw the football. I think it actually does the opposite. But I will ask, last night, how concerned were you with Jaylen Warren's performance?
Mildly to majorly, some sliding scale, and what kind of went back and forth. I think I fall somewhere into like mid-level concern just about the running game overall. Like, it's not just about Jaylen Warren. Of course, you can't be thrilled with the limited takes we got from him last night. It's hard to be positive or overwhelmingly optimistic about Caleb Johnson's performance. We've seen so little of Kenneth Gainwell. It's hard to even have an opinion when your best running backs are, guys like Lou Nichols and Trey Sermon. Like, Lou Nichols, no respect to the former FBS leading rusher of 2021, but like,
dude,
stud, no doubt about it. And a guy I love watching, but like, if he and Trey Sermon are the ones making the plays and making your run game look impressive, it doesn't inspire hope or optimism very much. And I think a lot of the problem there is still with the offensive line's ability to create holes, but also, Jaylen Warren didn't seem like he was hitting many. And when he had the ball in his hands, didn't seem like a sure runner at all. So lots to clean up. I don't think it falls on Aaron Rodgers, but I do think there is some communication there or some sort of, chemistry building that he can help foster to maybe improve it. But I don't think the issue lies with him or the quarterback position at all about the running game. And maybe this all changes in, week 1 against the New York Jets. But for right now, they seem like a very unimposing rushing unit heading into this season.
Yeah, Jaylen Warren's fumble was like, dude, come on. The one thing that you couldn't still continue to do was fumble the football. Right. That was rough. I have faith that Jaylen's going to figure it out. I do think the running game starts a little slow to start the season, but I do think they figure it out. I think Kenneth Gainwell is going to be a savior here. I really, really do. But it's just like the passing game. Like, it's a bunch of guys that don't excel in the ground and pound every single down guy. I think Jaylen's your best bet, and I have a lot of faith in what Jaylen can do. Didn't look great last night. My problem is that, like, people will say, oh, it was one preseason game. He hasn't looked, nobody's looked good in training camp. Like, no, the ground game has been absent the entire summer. Where it goes, what it does, we'll see come week 1. But I will say I'm a little bit more concerned about the running game than I am the passing game right now, simply because, F it, DK's down there somewhere. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? Just like, F it, Jaylen Warren's going to run straight? No, that's not how that works. So we'll see what happens. I'm curiously optimistic about week 1, we'll say. Bernard Nixon, thank you. Do y'all think A-Rod is an upgrade from Russell Wilson? Massively. Massively. I don't think I could count. It would take me a long time. Mr. Beast once did a video where he counted from 1 to 1 million. That was the only thing he did. He just sat in front of his laptop and counted from 1 to 1 million. I think it took him like almost 2 days. I think
crazy.
I think we'd have to like pretty much repeat that video to say how many times I have said, wow, dude, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback the Pittsburgh Steelers have had since Ben Roethlisberger throughout this training camp. The guy makes passes that are ridiculous. He's a leader that the Steelers have not had since Ben was here. His arm talent's better than since Ben pre-surgery. Like, the answer is an easy yes, man. And I know Russ had that one pass in the preseason where everybody's like, there it is, dude. I can't believe it. And it was over the middle. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's 85 yards over the middle, dude. He could see that far down the field over the middle. Things are fine. Aaron Rodgers is a freak. And I don't know if it's going to translate to wins, but Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback the Steelers have had since pre-surgery Ben Roethlisberger. And I stand firmly on that belief.
Oh, and I don't even think it's a belief. I think it is a fact. Russell Wilson, man, like, yeah, he can't see within the first 15 yards of the field. So, that pass was very impressive, but I'm not impressed, or I have no belief that it will continue in the regular season for the New York Giants. So we'll see what happens there. Aaron Rodgers is so impressive, and watching him in training camp, being able to see him at the joint practice, and getting the opportunity to get a close up view of him and what he does on the field, it's unreal. And it is so different from any other quarterback that I've watched. It is so much better in a lot of ways than many quarterbacks. So I don't mean to just like overhype him or build over expectations and keep building them up as if he's going to be like a savior type of player. I just think the quarterback position has been so dreadfully dull in Pittsburgh for the last 5 to 6, 7 years, that having a capable Aaron Rodgers in is going to seem like a night and day difference.
Yes.
He is a difference maker on the field, and this is coming from someone who's just like been skeptical of acquiring him, of what he brings to the Steelers, of like his impact on the locker room. Like, this is someone who has been very judgmental in a lot of ways about the person Aaron Rodgers and the player Aaron Rodgers. So like, watching him on the field, I think, just kind of erases that doubt very quickly. He is still a very capable quarterback, even if he is no longer in his physical prime. And I'm excited for week 1 to see what he does in a revenge game against the New York Jets.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Week 1, we are going to find out if we're overhyping Aaron Rodgers or if plain and simple, I'll take this one, because I don't want to say you've been saying it too, and then it come back to bite both of us in the butt. I'll take the blunt of this. The Jets are the Jets, man, and they're not even a real franchise. They're barely a real team. You know what I mean? I don't even know who owns them, whether it's Woody Johnson or his kid. I don't know who's running it. This is a Madden game, and they're doing really poorly as they try to figure some things out. So we're going to see, and I'm Aaron Rodgers, man. I'm excited about Aaron. And to be honest with you, I kind of like, Aaron's if I never watched Aaron Rodgers speak on a podcast, or never read the news about Aaron Rodgers and had any preconceived notions of the guy, I'd be like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, pretty cool. I kind of like him. He's kind of a funny guy. I try to remove all that, but I think he's convincing me that I see big things for Aaron Rodgers. I see big things for Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see. Cody Silva, preseason football sucks. Instead of Tomlin playing our starters against other starters, he played them against backups. That's a ballsy move. Preseason, and not that was the worst game so far. Oh yeah, not that it was the worst game so far. I look at it firmly as 90. Patrick Queen. It was hilarious because like Deshaun, the joint practice, we interviewed Deshaun Elliott, and he was like, yeah, man, I want to play in the preseason. All the starters want to play in the preseason. And then 3 minutes later, we interviewed Patrick Queen, who was like, yeah, if Mike T doesn't want to put me out there at all, I'm okay with that. I was like, yeah, okay. Like, that's what it is. These guys are like, I don't even know half these players that I'm playing against. Holy crap, Hunter Renfro's still in the league. Didn't even know that one. What am I doing out here? That was my thoughts on this one. Yeah, it was a brutal move by Mike Tomlin. If you were going to play him, there was really no time to play them. The Buccaneers didn't play their starters. The Panthers didn't play their starters, and you're not going to play them in the first preseason game. That's crazy. So to me, going to week 1 a little rusty, because who freaking cares, man? Who cares? I think that one series is not. You finished with 2 full series against starters this offseason. One of them against the Buccaneers in joint practice, and one of them against the 3rd string Carolina Panthers. And to be honest, like Skyler Thompson and Mason Rudolph against these guys in training camp, it gives you the same exact atmosphere. It was wild. It was
Yep.
wild.
And if these are game reps, they talk about the intensity of training camp and the intensity of practices and all this stuff. If that is getting these guys game ready, how rusty can the starters be week 1 against the New York Jets if they are getting acclimated and ramping up to game speed and game energy for 2 months beforehand? I have full faith that these starters can go into their first game. And
keep it trucking. Keep it trucking.
I'll figure that out. But they could, if you can hear me, it's all good.
I could.
I think they could be ready. So let me figure this out while Noah takes over.
Yeah. Look at I agree. And I think that he's back. This is short-lived chaos. You're here. Can you see you? Nope, now we can't hear you. There he is. He's back. He's back. Jacob's here. He's alive. This is the chaos we've missed. I agree. And I just there's just no reason for it. I've argued this for a week. I'll continue to argue it. I'll argue it every single season. Unless you have a rookie quarterback, don't put them on the field. Don't put any of the starters on the field. I just don't care about them. Preseason doesn't really matter at all. And people can come up whatever they want about it. But playing 2 series against another team means nothing. And every NFL player will tell you the same thing. It just doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's a way for owners to make more money. That is what this is. That is what it's always been. And it means absolutely nothing. That's why the owners weren't like, oh, let's cut the preseason down to 3 games. The players were like, let's cut the preseason down to 3 games because this is ridiculous. And here we are. If it wasn't for nobody,
owners were like, just play more.
That's what it is. They were like, all right, that's fine. We're just going to add another game in the regular season. They were like, that's not what we said. Here we are. Unless you're Skyler Thompson fighting for a roster spot, it means literally nothing. Grayson the Ginger. Skyler Thompson looked good. I think he won Mason's job with his preseason performances, but I could be wrong. Also, I just tuned in. What did you think about Jaylen Ramsey last night? I think Jaylen Ramsey looked exactly like I thought he was going to look. I thought him throwing whoever it was down to the turf was exactly what I expected Jaylen Ramsey to do from time to time this season. That doesn't change my mind on him. I still think he looked like an unleashed dog. To be really honest, I think Jaylen Ramsey in one series was exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers have wanted Minkah Fitzpatrick to do for 3 years and haven't been able to get him to do it successfully. And Jaylen looked like that guy. And I don't know if it's going to continue, but I mean, Jaylen looks, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the guy that's like, Jaylen looks better than Minkah. Jaylen looks better than Minkah, dude. Jaylen looks better than Minkah's looked for the last 3 years. And we've seen it all training camp. I think that's what my takeaway of Jaylen was, is that he is playing the role the Steelers have envisioned since Troy left for somebody to take over, and they now finally got him, hopefully. As for Skyler Thompson, Mason's still the backup. That's not going to change. Mason came in here to be the backup. He's going to remain the backup. The Steelers are going to keep him the backup. The only way Mason's not QB2 at any point this season is if he becomes QB1 and then loses the job because he stinks. But besides that, Mason will be QB2 and Skyler Thompson will be QB3 with Will Howard QB-IR. That's my guess.
I couldn't agree more. And I just want to also add the best part about watching Jaylen Ramsey in those 9 snaps or whatever he played in was just, you saw him in the nickel, you saw him on the outside, you saw him rush, you saw him at free safety, all in those short 9 plays in that one series on the field. And if that is just what we are what is in store for the NFL, like it's going to be a lot of hell unleashed on offenses if the Steelers can get to their defensive game quickly here. And Jaylen Ramsey is just going to be the part of it.
Yes, I firmly agree on that one. I want to answer Grayson's other one here. Member for 6 months. Shout out my guy. Also, what happened to the daily live streams? I'm not mad at it or anything. Just genuinely curious. Much love to you guys. Here we go, Steelers. Yeah, we addressed this earlier, and we'll address it again. And then for those of you who didn't catch it on the call-in show during the week, Steelers practice schedule shifted pretty dramatically from what we expected it to be. Last year, I was able to walk in the door at like 3:55 p.m. and jump on the live stream by 4. The last couple of days with the shift, I think we've gotten home at like 5:15, closer to 6 o'clock, and we're recording just to kind of try to keep the balance of like, let's make sure that we're, logistically and family-wise, Wives would be pretty upset if we're live streaming until 8 p.m. every night. That's valid during training camp. It's not valid every single day of the week. And then logistically, like you live stream at 7 p.m., your podcast is only getting about 3 or 4 hours of airtime before YouTube totally kills it. So in an effort to make sure that we reach the largest audience possible for you guys, we've adjusted some things. We're still going to go live the day after games, the morning after games, and then we're going to go live once again in the afternoons, most likely Thursdays, for something we're going to start calling a little AST happy hour to make sure that we're answering all your guys' questions. So that's where we're at with it. Shout out the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Keep it spicy. Shout out Papaya Salad. Papaya Salad, I don't know if you saw it on the message in the community post that I put out there announcing the changes. But if you didn't see how I signed off, shout out Papaya Salad. Shout out Papaya Salad. Shout out to Devin gifting 5 All Steelers Talk memberships. If you snag one, make sure that you call in to the call-in show on Wednesdays, before Wednesdays. Super pumped for him. And if you missed this week's, it was a good one. Yinzer Salad, a member for 6 months. Do you think the NFL will ever do away with the preseason? There's clearly no value other than seeing players that'll potentially get cut. Zero chance. And the only reason is because you're spot on. There is zero value. But like Jacob's saying, it's all about the money. People tuned in last night, man. People tuned in. People watched Skyler Thompson. People wanted to see Jaylen Warren, even if it was for a series, Our TV stations pay a lot of money to air these things. NFL Network pays a lot of money to air these things. It's all about the money. If they could, they'd have 4 preseason games and 25 regular season games, and they'd be the MLB. That's what they would be. So here we are. It's never going anywhere. I would imagine it slowly creeps to 2 games, but for right now, it's going to stick 3. And it also has value. And you know what I mean? Like, Max Harmon and Keyshawn Williams have a real shot to make the practice squad, and everybody coming into it was like, oh, it's Skyler Thompson. You know what I mean? If this was just training camp, he would never make the roster. Here we are, and I think that those guys, they get a good
life-changing money too. Like you go from, coming out of college, maybe some of these guys had big NIL money in recent years or whatever, but like, a lot of these guys, you're talking about maybe working a job like a lot of us work.
Yes.
To making like big time bucks. So like you're the evaluation time, like I'm all for guys getting their dreams, making the bag, being able to make a practice squad. And like, I don't want to do away with like evaluation space and the ability for players to break into the league from unlikely places. Like that still needs to happen. That's the great part of sports in a lot of ways. But like, yeah, from a fan perspective, from an observational perspective, the preseason is just like watching paint dry, and it's just awful.
It's awful, but they are fast. That is my one thing. Is last night it was like 9:55, the game ended, and I looked at my wife. I was like, "Let's go, dude. We're gonna be in bed by midnight. This is a beautiful day. This is a beautiful day." Rec 7, shout out member for 4 months. Our guy watching Mason these last 2 games makes the wait for Aaron super worth it. And also, is it me or does Jaylen look too skinny? His arms looked little. No, Jaylen. If we're talking Jaylen Warren. No, that was a TV camera. It had to be a bad angle because that guy's he is shredded. He's Utah trains in the mountains shredded. Okay. And I don't think I could take a picture of him. Like I think it'd be weird if I was like, yo, Jaylen, can I just snap a pic of you in the locker room here so that I could show everybody? The guy is a brick house, dude. It had to be a bad camera angle. Jaylen's crazy. Also, I'm excited for Aaron too. I don't know what my expectations are yet. I'm waiting to see, but I'm also very, very excited for Aaron Rodgers.
Do you think you meant Jalen Ramsey?
If it's Jalen Ramsey, corners are supposed to be skinny, so I'm not really worried about it. And him throwing Trevor Etienne 15 yards into the ground made it totally worth it. So we're good there too. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're good. Fair. We're good in both sides. But if it's Jaylen Warren, man, that dude. It's not like the arms are big, and I get it. Where like kind of Najee was a bigger dude, but it's not. The arms are crazy. The fact that his shoulders come up to like his ears is just nuts to me, man. And he does it all while training in the mountains of Utah, which give you superpowers. You know what I mean? Gives you superpowers. Nothing.
Perfectly. No. How could I add to that? Are you kidding me?
Grayson the Ginger. Do you think Jaylen Warren wore bad cleats last night or something? He kept slipping all over the place. I also broke my TV when Harmon went down. I'm glad he came back to the sidelines, though. Harmon's good. I checked on him as well last night, and everything I was hearing was positive. He's going to have an MRI later this morning, but they expect good things. Jaylen, so this is another awful part of the preseason. I don't know if everybody noticed the second line outside of the end zone that made it real confusing where the actual end zone was and how the end zone wasn't painted in. But that's because like 2 days earlier, the freaking Panthers had a soccer game there, which makes the field ridiculous. So again, like it's my biggest hassle with Pitt. It's not the locker rooms or anything like that with Pitt sharing a field with the Steelers. It's the fact that nobody at all should be playing on an NFL field less than 5 days before an NFL game. And that's what it was last night, is there was a soccer game and
they used turf
field
too.
terrible. Yeah, but it's still like maintenance. You know what I mean? Like it's
the
all
turf is just bad. Like
bad.
Doesn't the NFL want teams, like haven't they been urging teams to switch to grass? Like
no,
in
not
recent years too.
The players have. The NFL itself is like
if I was Jaylen Warren, I'd be like, look at this. This is why, because the turf has fumbled. I blew my knee out.
Wait till week 1, man. I've heard MetLife's the worst stadium in the NFL from players. Players tell me all the time MetLife is the slippiest, worst field you could play on. And they'll be there in 2 days. They'll be there in 2 days. Yeah. Cody Silva. Has the defense looked good against anyone besides our offense? Because what I've seen on tape sucks. If both sides suck this year, it's the play callers. Here's a big thing on me last night. Did you notice that for the one series that they were in, the Steelers only ran zone, which is what they also did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the joint practice? So to me, it's good. Give me your thoughts on that, actually, because I have a theory.
This is where I really like the Mike Tomlin competitiveness, stubbornness, because Tomlin does not want to show his hand at all in preseason if he's going to go out with his ones. Like he wouldn't do it on the offensive side of the ball. Like they used a very limited play calling script, even with Mason Rudolph in with the ones. Like the defense goes out there, does the most rudimentary, basic sort of defensive approach. You show nothing except for, obviously Jalen Ramsey wants to just get his timing down in different spots on the field. You can do that while still running zone. And then is that what they're going to do? They say they want to run man all the time. So that doesn't really seem compatible with that. If you're going to run zone exclusively with your ones, whenever they're on the field, yes. I think it's a little bit of gamesmanship from Mike Tomlin. And I think he's just not wanting to show his hand to competition. And I think he just is waiting to unleash the full arsenal, or at least I hope that's the case. In the regular season, he's waiting until then.
Look it. Mike Tomlin talked to me and a couple other people one day early in training camp, and he looked me dead in the face. He looked all of us dead in the face, and he said, "We're manning everybody this season." You want to know what they haven't done yet against ones? Man, anybody. So it's just, to me, it's just like wait and see, play it soft, don't get anybody hurt. We're not out here to impress against the Carolina Panthers. I think he was more, and everybody will be like, well, he was so pissed off about how bad they played. Yeah, he was. But I think if you remove 13 penalties for 120 yards or something, he's less pissed off at that situation. I look at it simply saying this is him testing the waters, just like you said, in other ways. Papaya Salad, the best Steelers channel, honored to be a part of the picnic pack. Shout out Papaya Salad, member for 3 months. Everybody make sure that you're calling into the call-in show. It's good to be back, guys. Maddie, what wide receivers do you expect to be on our radar? When will they start cutting down the roster? Skyler Thompson equals preseason Kenny Pickett. I've got so many questions, but we're back. Skyler Thompson might equal preseason Kenny Pickett. That might be the case. That's my biggest warning too. And I think we have a question in here from Maddie, actually, and we'll answer it in a second. So I'll wait on that one. They'll start cutting guys starting Monday. Well, today probably they'll cut a couple, but Monday will be like the beginning of the end. And then by the end of the week, they'll have their 53-man roster. I would imagine about 15 guys get cut before Friday. That's my guess. And then Friday's the big slice it in half, give you the 53. what wide receivers, I expect everybody. Like, I can't even give you a guess because I think right now the Steelers are just going to hammer out everything they possibly can to make sure that they could find somebody who wants to play wide receiver for them and who they can get on their radar. Here's the other question. What's the difference between Jackson Dart and Skyler Thompson? They both showed out, but they have both played against the third and fourth stringers. Same could be said with KP8 preseason, right? Yep. That's the biggest thing about the preseason is that, and that's my biggest warning to Giants fans is that be excited, but be cautious because, Kenny Pickett taught us a valuable lesson. That being said, when it comes to a quarterback 3 versus I guess he's a quarterback 3 as well. He's really going to be the 2 though. You're kind of excited about what Skyler Thompson was able to do simply because it was like, okay, at least you got 3 guys that are capable, to some degree. And that's really all you're looking for. We're going to finish it off, or we're not going to finish it off, but we're going to add one more Maddie's here. Monday, September 1st, 7 p.m. for the fantasy draft. Does that work for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm good with that.
Should work for me as well. Yeah. Sounds good to me. Let's lock it in.
Thanks, Maddie.
Logging in. Eddie the First. Noah, it is ultimately Tomlin's call to play the starters in the game. That doesn't matter. And will he face any heat for Harmon getting injured? No. At the end of the day, the heat will come from me, Jacob, and a lot of you guys, but he ain't going to hear any of it. I promise. Shout out to Mike T, though, man, because he does not care at all. I bet you if you asked Mike Tomlin, hey, Mike, did you hear that, the whole state of North Dakota just like floated away the other day? He'd be like, nah, dude, I haven't read the news in 15 years. I don't even know what's going on. I haven't turned television on in my house. Take these
one day at a time.
Yeah. I'm going to vacuum. That's exactly what he'd say. I just live my life in a vacuum. That's what he'd say. That's exactly what he'd say. Lindsay, strawberry pretzel, Jello salad. I know my stuff. How many how many running backs do they keep? Does Sermon have a chance to make the roster? I don't predict, unless you feel differently, that the Steelers keep more than 3. I think they go Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, Jaylen Warren, and I think Trey Sermon finds himself on the practice squad. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is my prediction as well, 100%. And I think Trey Sermon is probably a very likely candidate to evade being signed, claimed, whatever, and he's going to end up on the practice squad. He's had a great preseason, and I think he should be, given a strong consideration. But I think they have to keep 3 running backs to give themselves, the positional flexibility to sort of carry everyone else they might want to, and you just really don't need more than that. Trey Sermon is kind of an unnecessary luxury that I don't think the Steelers should really indulge right now.
Yeah. Tortellini salad. How concerning are the 13 flags the Steelers managed to get called on them last night? In my eyes, concerning for sure, especially because a lot of them came on offense with holding calls. That being said, they were pretty clean the first 2 games. So, again, like I kind of looked at it like they were just like, get us to week 1, man. And I'm hoping that that's just me being realistic and not too optimistic and blind by that optimism. But that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, I'm concerned, and I think I'm expecting this to continue in week 1, unfortunately. And I think it is a result of just sort of, an acceptable result in my mind of, maybe the ones not playing together that much in a competitive game, right? Like I'm fine with, if that's the rust that you're shaking off is like getting called for certain penalties, like, and if it's things like just like holding or like improper use of hands, like little things that are just showing you're just kind of out of timing, in my opinion, then like I can forgive it for, a day or a week, I can forgive it for 2 games or something like that. But I am concerned that this is like a discipline issue that might continue into the regular season. Hopefully I'm wrong.
Yes. Hopefully you're wrong for sure. YouTube user reminds us the NFL cutdown day this year is actually Tuesday, the 26th, which means that we are about to have a busy ass weekend. Awesome. Love it. Shout out the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. They always make life easy. Always make life easy. Sounds good. Want to give a happy Friday fam to Carl Mean Cup of Joe Green Bean Salad Spackler. Got a shout out on my favorite beatboxers live stream for the greatest YouTube name ever. And because of that, man, we want to give you a shout out because you're the man, because you are the man. All right, keeping it trucking. ND Joe, how have you picked your fantasy username yet? I may suggest Big Strax Picnic Pack. I think I did come up with one, but to be honest with you, this is going to be my name. So thank you so much, ND Joe. This is awesome. This is awesome. Too many hurt at practice. Should we be worried at all about Jalen Ramsey and his on-field antics? Also, what's up with JPJ whiffing on the guy who probably won't be on a roster? I blame the JPJ thing on, like, he's looked very physical at training camp. I'm hoping it's just a one-time, like, shake the rust off thing. I'm not worried at all about Jalen. To be honest with you, dude, if Jalen Ramsey punches somebody in the face during a game, the Steelers haven't had that in so long. Let it happen. You know what I mean? Like, Cam Hayward's been like the mean bad guy for so long, like, and he's not a mean bad guy. It's good to have a villain. I think it's a good thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a villain.
Yeah. I mean, I think Patrick Queen tried to be the villain last year, and he had, like, against the Ravens, he certainly was the villain. But Jalen Ramsey has this, like, nastiness that I am not often a proponent of across the board, but when you have it, like, in these spurts and in these, like, singular like sources, like from Jalen Ramsey, who's an all-pro player, like, it almost makes him better, and it makes the folks around him better. And I think, like, he is making JPJ one pissed off that he's not, like, the quote unquote top dog in the locker room right now for the cornerbacks, which is giving him some, like, added fuel to the fire. And there is this sort of, like, this voice, this sentiment going through the defensive side of the ball that's like, we can man up everybody, go one-on-one and take everybody down. If you had that mentality, that means you're going to go after the tackle. You're going to try to get downfield. You might also whiff on some guys, and they might not be the best plays on tape. So I'm willing to excuse it again for now, but I understand that might be an area of concern for you. So I get it, but I'm not feeling that concerned right now yet.
Yeah. All right. We got two more here. Pittsburgh Hornets start bench cut. You can only drink warm water. You can only wear jorts or jean vests, or you can't use any vehicles with wheels, which I don't even know what that would be. You know what I mean? Like, what do you're just going to sit on a piece of board? I guess it would be a boat. You could go anywhere with a boat. Yeah, I guess that would.
Yeah, you can't on land. You're useless.
Useless. You're just walking everywhere, which stinks, dude. Could you imagine having to go to, like, MetLife or something and
just walking?
That'd be awful. That'd be awful.
Use a plane, but no land.
They play in Los Angeles this year. I'd have to leave yesterday. If I'm going to be really honest here, dude, I would 100% rock jorts and a jean vest every day for the rest of my life, and I wouldn't care one bit.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, you'd rock that for sure.
That's what I have a mullet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm already halfway there. I'm already halfway there. I have a mullet and I drive a Ram. Okay, I am jorts and a jean vest. Essentially, I'm a biker in a biker gang without a bike nor a gang. So, we're there. I'll get some cool patches. You know what I mean? I already have patches, actually. I used to collect patches. Boom. We're there. Go ahead. What you got?
I don't think I could pull off the Canadian tuxedo summer vacation vibe sort of thing like Noah could, but if I had to drink just warm water for the rest of my life, I don't even want to be in this world. Like, I don't even want to be around anymore if that's the case, because that's awful. I think that's actually what hell is. So not that. I'll cut that one. I'll start the vehicles one because I'll find my way around. I'll figure it out. I'm a crafty individual.
I feel like you're like a homebody too. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't have to go anywhere forever, you'd be like, I'm cool, man. I just gotta walk. We live within a block of a supermarket. You know what I mean? We're not a supermarket, but a market. They got onions and pickles and stuff. We're fine.
Exactly.
Great tuna sandwiches.
Retweet. I would love to never leave my house, so that's fine with me. Then I guess that means I'm benching the jorts combination, but warm water. Pittsburgh Hornets, you are a sick individual to come up with that. That's crazy.
That's awesome. And we're gonna finish it off with Mike Lang here. I just realized that Jacob is sleepless. Glad you guys are back live. When do you hit the panic button on wide receiver 2? How does the O-line look to you guys? I think the O-lines looked fine. I'm gonna kind of remove last night and hope that the first two preseason games are a better example of what they saw, especially against, I think, more premier talent. I'm I'm not hitting the panic button on wide receiver 2 until like not this upcoming Tuesday, the Tuesday after that. To give it a week from roster cuts to find somebody. But I think we're approaching like the final wave of like guys are going to be available. Maybe they're going to make a move, and we're going to hit like Terry McLaurin's still not signed, guys. You know what I mean? And until he is, that trade is still very there and becoming more realistic for anybody who wants to make an offer.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm not completely panicked. I'd say I'm like 7 out of 10 on the panic meter. I won't hit 10 until I watch them play against the New York Jets without some sort of outside addition, right? Or something like that. Then I'm fully panicked. When we pass,
yes.
Let's give the Steelers a day or two post the August 26th cut down day deadline. I'll be creeping up to 8 and 9 in those days if there's no significant addition or really any addition in that time. If they go through week 1 and it's just an abysmal passing game, the panic meter, I won't shut up about it for sure. But yeah, it's getting awfully close, I think is the overall statement there.
Yeah, I agree. All right. With that said, guys, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. We will be back on Monday. Enjoy another beautiful weekend in the Berg. Peace.